The difference of two squares. Now, some quadratics only have two terms. For example, x squared minus 4, 2x squared plus 3x, x squared plus x, and 9x squared minus 16. And we can use different methods to factorise these. If we look at the middle two, we can factorise them by just taking an x out, because they both have an x. So we can take an x out. To get from x to the first term, I need 2x. X to the second term, I need a plus 3. Similarly for this one, x squared and an x, I can take an x out. To get from x to x squared, I need another x. And to get from x to plus x, I need to times it by 1. But what about these other two? Well, x squared minus 4 is an example of a quadratic where we can use the difference of two squares. X squared minus 4 is really x squared plus no x's minus 4. So we could use the method for factorising quadratics, and we would look for numbers that multiply to give minus 4 and add to give 0. Well, that's plus 2 and minus 2. So your brackets are x plus 2 and x minus 2. But we can use a more general rule, and that is when we've got something squared minus something squared, your brackets are 1 plus the other and 1 minus the other. So if it's a squared minus b squared, it's a plus b and a minus b. So for example, x squared minus 4, x squared is x that's been squared, and 4, ignore the minus, the 4 is 2 squared. So what we can do is put that into two brackets, one with a plus 2 and one with a minus 2. So it's x plus 2 and x minus 2. You can extend that rule. So if the first term is something squared and something squared minus something else squared, so c squared d squared minus e squared, it's the same idea, cd plus e and cd minus e. So if we want what was on that slide a second ago, we had 9x squared minus 16. Now 9x squared, well, 9 is 3 squared, and x squared is x squared. And ignore the minus, 16 is 4 squared. So we're going to have two brackets, one with 3x and plus 4, and one with 3x and minus 4. Okay, let's look at some examples. So factorise x squared minus 25. Well, x squared is x that's been squared, and 25 is 5 squared. So we've got two brackets, x in both, but one will be a plus 5 and one will be a minus 5. Next one, x squared minus 64. Now, x squared is x, obviously squared, and 64 is 8 squared. So we'll have two brackets, both with an x in. One will have plus 8 and one will have minus 8. And lastly, 36x squared minus 100. Look at the first term. Well, we've got 36, which is 6 squared, and x squared, which is x squared, and 100, which is 10 squared. So we have two brackets, both with 6x in. One will have a plus 10, and one will have a minus 10.